Hello and welcome to our fifth walking tour. Today we begin at Daisy Lane. We'll end at Evergreen Lane. In between there are many veteran graves. I hope you can get out and take a look at them soon. Harold R. Chapman, born July 19th, 1898 in Princeton, Minnesota, died May 31st, 1920. Harold was a corporal with Company C of the 306th Heavy Tank Corps during World War I. Just prior to World War I, Harold was sent off to the border with Mexico to defend against Pancho Villa. Then he was sent to France, where he was gassed, had influenza, and tuberculosis. Survived all that and came back for a short time, dying in 1920. Henry Applegate, born January 22nd, 1838, died February 1st, 1906. Henry was a sergeant with Company G of the 6th New York Cavalry. He was a saddler with the 6th Cavalry in the Army of the Potomac, which saw action at Antietam, Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville, Gettysburg, Appomattox, and many more. There are some markers that are getting very difficult to read, which makes remembering these veterans all the more important. Like this one for Arthur Fogg Howard. The marker reads A.F. Howard, born December 12, 1846 in Brownville, Maine, died December 7, 1907. Arthur was with Company A of the 1st Maine Heavy Artillery. During the Civil War, he was a prisoner at Andersonville Prison. After the war, he was elected 9 times to be the sheriff of Mille Lacs County. Henry O. Hamilton, born November 18th, 1828 in Massachusetts, died March 18th, 1911. Henry was with Company F of the 8th Minnesota Infantry. He saw action in conflicts against the Native Americans at Killdeer Mountain and the Badlands. After those events, they were sent south to Murfreesboro during the Civil War. This is another example of a veteran marker that's almost unreadable. Francis Marion Northway. The stone reads F.M. Northway, born 1841 in Ashtabula County, Ohio, died December 21st, 1900. Francis Northway Sr. was with Company A of the 6th Ohio Cavalry, which saw action at Gettysburg, Fredericksburg, and others. Charles Henry Rhines, born December 1st, 1842 in Maine, died January 9th, 1907. Charles Rhines and his family moved to Baldwin Township near Princeton, Minnesota in 1856. He volunteered at the age of 18 and was a private with Company D of the 1st Minnesota Infantry. He was wounded 5 times during the famous charge on July 2nd, 1863 at Gettysburg. His Civil War comrades would attest later that no braver man ever shouldered a musket than Charlie Rhines. He recovered from his wounds in a hospital in New York, then was dispatched to quell the draft riots in New York City. After the war, he opened a general mercantile store and later had a lumbering business with Leonard Pratt. Charles also made several trips across the plains as a government teamster and did a season or 2 on log drives in Minnesota. Charles was also a large-scale potato farmer in the Princeton area. George W. Taylor, born August 28, 1828 in Brunswick, Canada, died September 17, 1898. George was a corporal with Company G of the 11th Minnesota Infantry, which saw action in Nashville. They were guarding the Louisville to Nashville Railroad. Richard James Masage, born October 8th, 1953 in Little Falls, Minnesota, died December 31st, 2015. Richard was an SP4 with the U.S. Army during Vietnam. He was with an Army marksman unit, and he served 7 years. George Almiron Bigelow, born September 14, 1825 in Chelsea, Vermont, died June 22, 1867. He was with the 15th Ohio Light Artillery during the Civil War. The 15th was involved in engagements such as the Siege of Corinth, Vicksburg, Kennesaw Mountain, and Sherman's March to the Sea. Solon Beale Heath, born March 28, 1829 in Brownville, Maine, died March 5, 1923. He was with Company G of the 3rd Maine Infantry, who was engaged at 1st Bull Run, 2nd Bull Run, Fredericksburg, Chancellorsville, Gettysburg, and more. Before the war, he farmed and worked in the woods during the winter. After the war, he lived on a farm, was married, and had 12 children. Theo Hatcher, born April 16, 1880, died May 3, 1902. He was with Company M of the 14th Minnesota Infantry during the Spanish-American War. George Washington Buck, born 1832 in Dover, Foxcroft, Maine, died February 8, 1914. During the Civil War, the 12th Rhode Island Infantry saw action in Washington and Fredericksburg. After the war, George had a meat market, was involved in lumbering and farming, and was county commissioner for 14 years. William Henry Shaw, born September 22, 1833, in Foxcroft, Maine, died March 3, 1894. William was a corporal with the 2nd Minnesota Light Artillery Battery, who saw action at Perryville, Stones River, Chickamauga, and Chattanooga. I saw a note in the research mentioning that William Henry Shaw is considered the father of Baldwin Township. Absalom William or Abraham Chalmers, the stone reads A.W. Chalmers. He was born March 29, 1829 in Bath, Ohio. He died May 18, 1909. Abraham was with Company A of the 116th Indiana Infantry, which saw action at Blue Springs and Walker's Ford. That completes Walk 5. Thanks for joining us. Some topics for further research include Antietam, Fredericksburg, the Andersonville Prison, the Louisville to Nashville Railroad, Gettysburg, Vicksburg, Kennesaw Mountain, Bull Run, Killdeer Mountain, and Battle of the Badlands.